you are a sales rep or a sales leader and you know that digital era has an enormous impact on sales, this material will give you a foundation to prepare your sales strategy, because in this video I will unveil 6 most significant changes in B2B purchasing process that affect your sales the most. So let's get started. It's common knowledge that B2B process has changed recently, but what exactly changed? Let's go back to the past and analyze how B2B buyers started their buying process a few years ago. Well, the first step to start the buying process was contact the salesperson. It was the meetings where customers could analyze offer, products and services, and most important, ask questions to push the buying process forward. Today the situation is different. The first huge change is that Internet has become a primary source of information. Customers have unlimited access to the Internet. They ask the same questions, but they don't ask salespeople any longer. They can choose where they search for information, and in most cases, they prefer do it online. 92% of customers begin their buying process using a search engine, and 68% of B2B clients prefer to do research independently and in a digital way. As a result, client has more freedom and more options and is more educated than ever. What I want to show you now is the data published by Gartner, which describes the time that purchasing groups spend on particular activities. As you can see, customers spend as little as 17% of the total time meeting with potential suppliers, whereas they spend 27% of the time researching independently online. And because each buying process has an average of about 3 suppliers, it means that for one salesperson, it's only 5 to 6% of the customer's time. So sales reps have roughly 5% of customers' time during their B2B buying journey. So we can say that it's a really tiny number. Gartner has also illustrated today's buying journey in a really accurate but alarming map. What might have been a straightforward process in the past has turned into a maze of activities, and a lot of activities are done online. Here you can see all of the customers' activities in the digital sphere, just a few examples of digital touchpoints. Web search, supplier website visits, guides, white papers, and other digital content. And as Gartner shows, LinkedIn discussions, so they use social media as a decision-making tool. And what you can see here is only one touchpoint that indicates interaction with salespeople, surrounded by plenty of online digital touchpoints. So we have 2 problems here. First one is that salespeople have very little time to influence customers, but also they are involved by clients in the last phase, so at the very last moment. So it could be hazardous for the sales results, because salespeople don't have time to build their position and the value of what they offer. Okay, so what is this goldmine that is so desired by customers as soon as they go online? Of course, this answer is content, because content has become a tool for making decisions for customers. 65% of B2B customers use content to support purchasing decisions. 89% of customers say it's very important or important that vendors provide them with relevant content at each stage of the buying process. And 69% say they will not extend a contract if they don't receive helpful content after becoming an active customer. And based on content, customers decide for themselves which suppliers to invite and when. And that's why the seller's role in the purchasing process has also changed. So next point is that seller's role in the B2B buying process is shrinking. Over the past 5 years, sellers stopped being treated as a first-step source in a case of a trade-related problem. To put it differently, customers consult various other sources during the purchasing journey before reaching out to sellers. Here you can see an interesting chart which illustrates different sources where buyers look for answers. And as you can see, only 22% of customers indicate that vendor salespeople are reliable sources. What's more, salespeople are the second from the bottom, which clearly shows that their importance is getting smaller. But that's not the end. Being omitted as a reliable source of information is not the worst scenario. To make matters worse, in 2021, 54% of millennials preferred a completely rep-free experience. And this indicator increases from 44% in 2020. And it's not only connected with plenty of digital options available for customers, but also with a trust crisis that salespeople suffer from. And this crisis results from the way salespeople used to behave. And I mean that they were pushy, they sent tons of prospecting messages, and they attacked customers with unwanted and unexpected calls. That's the reason why customers indicated cold calls as the most repulsive thing that makes them less likely to buy. Statistics are ruthless. A myriad of options and the feeling that customers cannot rely on a salesperson is one of the reasons why the buying process is difficult. And that leads us to the next point. The customer buying journey is hard. With multiple stakeholders involved in the process, more options and perspectives must be taken into consideration. There's no escaping. 77% of B2B buyers admit that their latest purchase was very complex or difficult. And there is another crucial reason why. The buying committees grow in size. In other words, more and more people participate in the purchasing process. In 2018, almost 7 people influenced purchasing decisions. However, in 2020, the typical buying group involved 6 to 10 stakeholders. And purchasing groups are becoming more diversified because new roles appeared, especially in IT. For example, functions as transformation director or security manager just didn't exist as they were superfluous. So B2B buying process is getting more and more complex, including many decision makers and influencers with divergent interests, needs, goals, and challenges. And it's really hard to reconcile the interests. But process is complicated not only because of different roles and different perspectives, but also because of different generations involved. And now let's look at the generation which is becoming the majority group in the decision-making process. Millennials now are making decisions. If you were to guess, how old is the oldest millennial as we are in 2023? The common image of millennial is someone carrying a school bag, representing a very young generation. But the truth is, the oldest millennial is now in their early 40s. So it's crucial data because of two facts. Social media is a natural environment for the millennials. And the second is that you can't turn it back. In 2021, as high as 60% of B2B tech buyers were millennials, and 51% of lead buyers and financial approvers were also millennials. So who exactly are millennials? What is typical of them? The first thing is that they are digital natives. Millennial buyers are much more likely, in fact twice as much, as older generations to discover a product by searching online. And the second thing is that they care even more about reviews. Millennials rely on sites like TripAdvisor and Amazon for reviews of everything from gourmet meals to garbage bags. According to study, 8 out of 10 millennials won't make a purchase without reading a review first. And one of the best ways to check out products or services is combing social media. And we can observe the same behaviors of average John and Jane in B2B processes because the way they make decisions is like minding B2B and B2C. And as we have so many millennials that make B2B decisions, the importance of social media in B2B decision-making process is going through the roof. And the last change that came out of the blue is COVID-19. Because pandemic changed customers' behavior. And all trends I've mentioned were just emerging trends before 2020, but COVID-19 pandemic accelerated them in a spectacular way. And one of the most conspicuous outcomes of the pandemic is that digital buying interactions outstripped human interactions. And Gartner predicted in 2020 that 80% of contact between suppliers and clients will have moved to the digital sphere by 2025. What's more, 90% of B2B decision makers expect the remote and digital model to stick around, and only 20 to 30% of B2B buyers say they want to interact with sales representatives in person, even post-pandemic. So we can say that COVID-19 has changed customers' behavior forever. And to sum up, forget the question, is the digital a way to hit the revenue, or do we really need to invest in the digital rather than hire more salespeople? It's not the right question. This question is not relevant anymore. Don't make a choice between salespeople and the digital, and don't treat them as alternatives. Salespeople in the digital is the only answer. Only thanks to this approach, we are able to secure our revenue. And it's a good idea to start now, because in a few years it could be too late. Your competitors could have already started it. The digital is no longer the future of customers. This is happening now. It's the present. So start thinking about transforming your or your team's approach from an analog one to a digital one. And first, check this video on how social selling can support you in this transformation. In the description box below, you can find an ebook with more interesting data along with the links to all the sources. Don't forget to follow the Black Panther and subscribe to my channel.